Good evening, boys and families. Tonight we're going to be introduced to Trapper. Trapper's a seal, and you'll learn what his moral is. So I hope you've had a good day. I hope you had a good day today, and that you're ready for a little story tonight, and then to cuddle up in your bed with your covers. You never know, it's going to be warm or cold these days. So Trapper. In the crystal reaches of the stormy Atlantic Ocean, off the north coast of Canada, there was a small frozen island called Samarkand. The clouds floated freely there, dancing softly in the snow-filled sky as the ocean washed over the icy rocks. An island. What would it be like to live on an island? Oh! Because of the crisp, brisk weather, furry little creatures called minstrel seals came from all over to play in the cold waters of the island. They were called minstrel seals because they always sang pretty songs to the sea. The seals spent all of their days eating the delicious fish that lived deep in the bays and sitting on the rocks and softly humming in the bright sunlight. Oh, I've never heard a seal sing or hum. Every day, when the sun reached its highest, one of the seals would climb high onto the rocks and begin to sing a gentle melody to the sea. One by one, the other seals would join in harmony until the most beautiful song was carried by the breeze for miles around. They would sing like that for hours and hours until a small minstrel seal called Trapper would join them and quietly begin to hum along. He would get so carried away by the pretty music that he would suddenly bellow out a sour note. It was so sour and so loud that the birds would lose their feathers in flight. The other seals would cringe at the sound, and one by one they would slide noisily back to the sea, leaving Trapper all alone on the island of Samarkand, humming all by himself, way out of tune. Poor little Trapper. He's awful cute. It would have been the very same to this day, except that the seals one by one started disappearing. Day by day, one or two seals would disappear, and the group would be that much smaller. The other seals didn't really mind because each one enjoyed his own pretty voice anyway, and with fewer seals they could hear themselves better. Besides, it seemed to Trapper that the fewer seals there were, the longer he got to sing along. Finally, Trapper realized that there were only 3 seals, including himself, left on the whole island. He thought as he munched on his lunch in the bay. This is getting stranger and stranger. I wonder where everyone is gone. My singing isn't very good, but it can't be so bad that everyone would leave. He decided that night after the singing next day, he would watch carefully to see where everyone went. Oh. The day dawned cold and bright, as it did every day. Trapper played in the surf, and when the sun was at its highest, he went to join the other seals. He hummed along with the other 2 for the longest time until, as always, he sang out with a very sour note. The other 2 seals, with a tisk or two, began sliding back into the sea. Trapper waited for just a moment, then slipped over to the edge of the rocks and looked below. There was the ugliest creature he had ever seen, and in his arms he had the last 2 seals on the island of Samarkand. Trapper quickly hid as the creature ran off with his fellow seals. That was close, he thought, but now I'll be able to sing pretty songs for as long as I like, with no one to say I'm singing wrong. He played in the bay and munched his lunch. Everything almost stayed the same. When the sun got to its highest point, Trapper again climbed the rocks to sing a song to the sea. He sang and sang, but it just wasn't the same. For what good is a pretty song if there's no one around to hear it? Trapper finally realized that he was all alone. Look at poor Trapper. What will I do? He cried. I'm afraid of the ugly creature, but without the other seals, I have nothing. He began swimming around the island, looking at all the bays for his friends, but to no avail. He climbed high onto the rocks and looked and looked. He searched throughout the day and long into the night, but never found a trace of the other seals. Finally, he became so tired from his search that he climbed out of the water, found a soft patch of frosty grass, and fell fast asleep. While he slept, he dreamed of all the days he had shared with the other seals and the pretty music they had shared. Trapper was so tired that he slept the whole night through. He probably would have slept through the day had he not been shaken awake to find himself hanging upside down. "What's going on?" he said with a yawn. Then he realized with a start that he was hanging in the arms of that creature. "Aha, so you're awake, my little singing minstrel seal. Soon you shall join your friends, and you can all sing pretty songs for me." "Who are you, and what do you want with me?" Trapper cried. "My name is Mudsock, and I like pretty things. You are going to be part of my collection," he laughed, and with Trapper stuffed neatly under his arm, he headed away from the bay. Ah. Poor Trapper did not know what to do. He thought and thought, but was too scared to think of anything. "I've got to calm down so I can think," he thought. Well, the only thing that would calm him down was to sing, so he began to hum softly to himself, so softly, in fact, that the creature didn't even hear. Then, as the song built within him, he bellowed his loudest, sourest note ever. The creature was so shocked by the terrible noise that he dropped Trapper so he could hold his hands over his ears. Trapper hit the ground with a thud and quickly rolled into the safety of the sea. Trapper hid beneath the waves, but when he realized the creature wasn't following him, he bobbed to the surface and looked around. There on the beach before him was Mudsock, stomping his feet and raging. "Come back here, you dumb little seal. You're pretty and I want you." "Mudsock," shouted Trapper, "why do you have to own everything that is pretty? Can't you enjoy a pretty thing the way it is? No, you stupid seal. What's the fun of seeing something pretty if you can't take it with you?" "Well," said Trapper carefully, "you can see a pretty sunset and you can't take that with you." "I tried to take it once," growled Mudsock. "Yes, but if you had succeeded, then no one else would have been able to see the sunset. Just like all the seals you took. Now no one can hear their beautiful song to the sea." "Well," grumbled the creature as he stirred his foot in the sand, "I still like to collect pretty things." Trapper thought for a moment. "That's easy, Mudsock. I'll show you all sorts of pretty things to collect." Trapper swam just a little way up the beach and shouted to Mudsock, who had followed, "Look! At your feet there are thousands of beautiful rocks. And look! Above you there are hundreds of pretty winter flowers growing." Mudsock looked around and saw that there really was pretty things everywhere. He began picking up rocks, then he suddenly stopped. "If I take all the pretty rocks and flowers, then nobody can enjoy them either." "Ah," said Trapper, "you take only the prettiest one and leave the rest for others to share." So Mudsock took the prettiest rock. Then he climbed way up and picked the prettiest flower, and with them safely clutched in his hand, he rushed back to set the seals free. After a while, things returned to normal on the island of Samarkand, and the minstrel seals once again sang their beautiful songs to the sea. Some of the time Mudsock sat with a flower in his hand and a gentle smile upon his face, with small, silent Trapper by his side. If you listened very carefully, you could hear the two of them singing softly out of tune. So, if you see those pretty things that nature likes to show, remember all those seals that sing and leave them there to grow. Isn't that a nice story, boys? You know, sometimes we say to you, don't pull the leaves off the tree and don't pull the flowers up because then we kill them. So the Trapper was able to teach Mudsock that we want to be able to look at the beauty. So around your houses, wherever you live, try to find something beautiful tomorrow morning when you get up. Just look around and see if there's a colored rose or a colored flower or a pretty grass, maybe a beautiful blue sky. Just see what it is and thank God for that. All right, let's appreciate the beauty that surrounds us. You're my beauty. I love you very much. I ask God to bless you very especially this evening. Have a beautiful night's sleep. Good night.